Welcome everyone to Talk Wrestling here on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel and of course, NoDQ.com. Thank you all for watching. I know a little late in the week for Talk Wrestling. It's been a couple weeks since I actually did a Talk Wrestling. I was attempting a coast to coast with Greg Cherry. It kind of is going back and forth right now in the editing stages, shall we say. We're having a little technical difficulties as we've had the last couple weeks. So my apologies for not being in front of the camera. I've been busy at work, busy rehab in the back. It's not going well. I'm in a lot of pain, but it is what it is. I picked out one question today because it was a doozy, and I really wanted to completely psychoanalyze this question because it was so poignant for the way that I feel about WWE right now and the way that, really a lot of people are feeling about WWE right now. So let's just rattle it off here from Rogue Wow at WowRogue12281. Take the top 10 to 12 off of SmackDown, move to Raw, pull plug on SmackDown, merge the belts. WWE better? That's what he said. That was his brief little tweet, and what I replied to him was that my response to that would not be able to be limited to 140 characters, because that is a multifaceted question, because that has been the talk that many people throw out there now, is that, if they were to go back on the brand extension and recombine the rosters and even, do away with a show, which has never been talked about before, as far as I'm concerned, I think both shows should be 2 hours, not necessarily one grand show. Because I think if they keep one show, it needs to be 3 hours, and then we've got overkill on that show. So I wouldn't get rid of SmackDown myself in the first place, but in accordance with your question, Rogue, we will go with it. You mentioned the top 10 to 12 being removed from SmackDown. Now, I gotta tweak it just a hair, because there are more top guys than 10 or 12, because you gotta figure AJ Styles is gonna go to the other roster. You gotta figure American Alpha is gonna go. That's 3 right there. You gotta figure Miz is gonna go. You gotta figure Ambrose. Let's see, who else on SmackDown? Cena, obviously. The Wyatt family, and Rowan if he comes back. So there's 10 right there. Already you're at 10. You have one tag team. So I don't know if your limited roster removal would work. I would, however, most definitely shorten Raw to 1 hour. 2 hours. Wow, that was really bad. 2 hours. I haven't slept. 2 hours. I know that JBL mentioned on on the table, whatever the hell that show's called, with Rosenberg, that he would, we had to keep the show 3 hours because of added space and, markets and things like that. But you know what? It's really ridiculous that one brand has 3 and one brand has 2. I feel it's a fair, and you gotta remember, Raw also has the cruiserweights, and they have an initial hour of cruiserweights every week on 205 Live. So what we're getting essentially is 3, 5, 6, 7 original hours of WWE programming per week, either on the network or on USA Network. That's a lot of first run programming. A lot. And what's very sad is, let me just go off at the roster, just SmackDown alone, and I'll tell you what the problem is. I see right now guys that have not had any significant time to develop as a character since the brand extension. Aiden English, Kurt Hawkins, Fandango and Breeze to a certain extent, Jack Swagger, the Usos, Kalisto now that he's back in purgatory away from the Cruiserweight division, Kane, who is still technically on the roster, he's still there, Mojo Rawley, who's now in purgatory thanks to Zack Ryder's injury, Rhino, what are they going to do with him now that he and Slater are no longer tag team champions? There are so many guys on both shows, not just SmackDown. I have the SmackDown roster right in front of me. It's a problem. It's a good problem, I guess, to have WWE, to have an overabundance of talent and to have that many guys, um, to have to need to do something with, I guess. But I get where Rogue Wild was going, that, maybe if they merged the brands and merged the championships and made it one unique company, that it would be better off. I completely disagree with that. I think that having two distinct brands is the way to go in today's oversaturated, overpopulated WWE market. But I do think there needs to be a better rationing, if you will, of the TV time, because I think that yeah, you're gonna get the main guys get most of the TV time, but there are guys, that are like not inactive because they're not injured, but you don't see them on TV except for a quick squash or a quick run in on some other angle. You're not going to see the Ascension get significant TV time. You're not going to see Mojo Rawley get significant TV time. You're not going to go over to Raw and see Sin Cara get a lot of TV time. You're not going to see R-Truth and Goldust and the Shining Stars and Mark Henry now and the Big Show now. Those guys, Bo Dallas, all these guys are lumped into one of the two main rosters, but you don't, you're just going to see them each and every week, and that is, I think, a problem if, you're a superstar in WWE that's looking to make money based on sales of merchandise and based on appearances and live events. And yeah, you're at the live events every week, but you're not on television getting your name out there, and yet your name is known. It's not like me here on NoDQ.com. Yeah, I have a little bit of notoriety, and yeah, I'm trying to sell my shirt, by the way. Go buy a shirt. ProWrestlingTees.com. Cheap plug. But I'm hesitant to criticize only because we were so critical for so long that the entire company was oversaturated. And now we have a thing where it's still overpopulated, but we have two brands now that have overpopulation. And, it's very much like, my little town here in Santa Clarita, here in California. We are a little town with a lot of people. WWE is the number one brand in sports entertainment in the world, but they're still a little family-owned company. Yeah, publicly traded, don't get me wrong, but it's a big population. It's a lot of people involved. And you've got really, if you really think about it, 4 distinct rosters, plus the rookies in the Performance Center that are training there. You've got a talent among talent above talent. I mean, I'm looking, I'm scrolling through the WWE roster Wikipedia page, and it's just I'm just reading. And there, there's referees, NXT, and, unassigned talent. People that haven't wrestled yet, and it's crazy how much talent is on WWE payroll, and yet they're still finding ways to make sure they don't have TV time. I don't get it. You look at something. I'm so glad I got to tape this today. I'm glad Aaron talked me into taping this today. I finally, overnight last night, got to watch the UK tournament. Wow. Can those 16 guys, and probably the rest of the UK, let's be honest, I haven't seen the UK stuff in a while, as far as tapes and whatnot, but my Lord, were those kids, because they're kids, most of them. Some are older than me, but not by much. And the champion's 19 years old, Tyler Bate. I keep wanting to call him Tyler Bateman because he's an old buddy of mine from Epic. But no, Tyler Bate, 19 years old. He's the second youngest reigning champion in the history of WWE. He's only a few short months ahead of Rene Dupree's first World Tag Team title reign in La Resistance. 19 years old. He's barely a man. And he's got the weight of essentially an entire brand on his shoulders now. Because if there was too much talent before the Cruiserweight Classic, and there was too much talent before the UK tournament, now we've got the Cruiserweights coming in, and now we've got the UK guys coming in. They're going to be a part of the UK brand that they're going to probably establish over there. again, it's a good problem to have for WWE. It's a bad problem for us as fans because we can't allow ourselves to get invested in the lower tier guys because we're so, Cena and Balor and Rollins and Reigns and Miz and we're so inundated with the main guys that we don't get a chance to go, I like that guy. Let's see what that guy does. Which is why the Cruiserweight Classic was such a good thing because we get to see 32 fresh faces. Tajiri and Kendrick being the exceptions. And then we got to see the UK tournament with Mark Andrews being the only name guy that people in the United States had really seen full time before, being with TNA at one point. I think I liked the report I read on, let's see if I can, NoDQ.com, that they are thinking about a women's tournament. However, what do you do with 16 or 32 unsigned women when the tournament's over? Yeah, one wins and gets a contract and is on Raw or SmackDown, but there's 31 or 14, 15 other girls that you have to find something to do with if you're going to assign them to talent, one roster or the other. Why on earth would you go ahead with something like this knowing that you have fans like me, like Rogue Wow, questioning the overabundance of talent and the saturation of talent in the market right now? It's a question worth pondering over, and I'm glad that you asked this, Rogue Wow. I'm so glad that I literally did this on no sleep because I wanted to get a show in this week because Coast to Coast is having so much trouble with editing and recording properly. It's just there's serious talk, and I'm saying it here first on Talk Wrestling. If I can get the logo in there. There we go. Of bringing Coast to Coast to iTunes and making it be an audio podcast. And the reason for that is that technology, as far as on our end, dictates that audio shows would lead to better recorded conversations between two people. Not saying that Skype doesn't work well for Aaron and David and I, and Aaron and I when we do our shows, but when it's Greg and I, and we're working on the budget we work off of, because we don't necessarily work within Aaron's area. We kind of submit the product to him, if you will. We feel the audio may do better for us, and plus we can get interviews from guys in back east and in the central part of the country and other parts of the world. We can have them call in to the show via Skype. And I've been very inspired by Sean Waltman, who does a YouTube and an iTunes show. God bless Xpac 12360. Gets me through my Wednesdays, I'll tell you what, on AfterBuzz TV. Great show, and so is Bischoff on Wrestling. I'm going to give a plug to Eric Bischoff. I never thought I would do that, but I am. Great podcast with Eric Bischoff and his producer, Nick. My goodness. Good stuff to me. And I kind of see that we at Extreme Mayhem, if you can believe this, almost 15 years ago now, kind of not pioneer because we weren't the first. We were one of the first. But we really got that ball rolling for audio podcasts to be developed in the world of sports entertainment. And now I find myself kind of not going backwards, but kind of sidestepping and maybe doing this for you guys one-on-one, talk wrestling with you guys, answer one question, a few questions, and then do a TV review with Greg with Coast to Coast. So what do you guys think about that? Should I asked a question before about moving After the Bell to podcast, but I mean this time. After the Bell is dead. I've buried it. I canceled Facebook and everything, so it's official. Facebook's dead. It's really dead. Would you guys prefer better quality from Coast to Coast through audio, or would you rather Greg and I try to find new solutions to the video show? Let me know. Let us know. NoDQ.com. Aaron Rift. Greg Cherry. Jeff Meacham. Buy the shirt. See you next time.